Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you listen to the podcast. I'm Cheri Dowder. I'm an occupational therapist and dysgraphia expert. This is the home of the writing glitch, hacking dysgraphia, no pencil required. In this episode, I am talking to Russ Loyd. He is the technologist behind the Dyslexia Campus. It's an app to help students that are having reading and writing challenges. Welcome to the podcast, Russ. How are you really?
I am fantastic. I will never complain.
Fabulous. So, first of all, what is Dyslexia Campus? And then number two, how did you get involved?
So Dyslexia Campus is a two-headed monster, if you will. The first head being, and the first part that will go public will be an online news magazine that sort of consolidates the web into a single location for all information on neurodiversity, particularly dyslexia. In our case, which is where we focus, and I say we. I am a technologist for the Providence Charter School. That is a charter school in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania that specializes in dyslexia remediation. And I got involved with that around 2015 when they launched. And since then, they've been having hundreds of children through the school doing fantastic work. I support them in a technology role. I am a parent to a dyslexic. I myself am a dyslexic. So it was as soon as I sort of realized what it was upon the diagnosis of my oldest child that I was like, wow. And that sounds exactly like me. So, I became involved with the school and I came up with this idea for the second part of Dyslexia Campus is to sort of, with the school, they have an expertise in, all things dyslexia or remediation. And we employ a lot of technology in that role, and technology plays a significant role in dyslexia and dysgraphia and all neurodiverse, um, uh, remediation or assistance, right? So, there's a lot of apps out there that claim to do certain things, and some do certain things better than others. And there's just a kind of a lot to digest. And as a parent of a newly diagnosed dyslexic or dysgraphia person with dysgraphia, that uh, there's a lot to digest. So I wanted to make it easy to find the first thing, right? So, and then the second part being, I wanted to vet all of these apps and technology to really choose the best ones. And so that's what we're doing. It has shifted a little bit in that we are going to have a service that offers all of those under one umbrella. But we're working with vendors and trying to finalize that. So that's the second part. So the second part is, would be a layer on top of your device, whatever device that may be, a Chromebook or an iPad, with which these applications would just sort of be populated for you. The best ones would be determined and vetted and subscribed to, and it would make it easy to just have a whole toolbox of things that are helpful for you.
Before I ask you any more questions, and I've got a couple of them brewing in my brain, I just want to stop a minute and thank Dowder Educational Consulting at cheridowder.com for the hosting today's episode. And on there, if you go to cheridowder.com/calendar, you can see what's coming up next. I believe, depending on when this comes out, you'll be able to access a masterclass or learn more about the next events that I'm headed to. So make sure that you check out cheridowder.com/calendar to find out everything that you need to know about what's coming up and how you can get certified as a uh, dysgraphia specialist. So when you started talking, Russ, one of the things that came to my mind is it's almost like the GPT of dyslexia.
Uh, okay, I appreciate that. That's a very complimentary analogy, but not really. There's so much information out there, and it's hard to find. And again, go back to having a newly diagnosed student or young person as a parent. You're sort of overwhelmed, trying to find all the information to try to what's best for your child and for the student. And so we wanted to make it easy to find all that stuff. GPT is more of um, it's something you just kind of interact with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different animal, but yet is a very important tool, right? So we cover that as a topic. That's one of our focuses. Like, where is AI taking? Where is AI going to play a role in helping people with dyslexia and dysgraphia? So,
I can tell you this, it has helped me.
mm,
I use it to help generate content for social media. I use it to, well, generate the titles for the episodes of the podcast. Really, I'm utilizing it and asking it to help me improve things that I've already written. But I am going to do something that I haven't done here on the podcast. And one of the things that Russ and I talked about was to put this on YouTube. So if you guys are want to see this episode on and see the version, video version, we're gonna try something new today. And I called up the website, and I'm gonna hit share here. Um, can you see it, or do you see my calendar?
Real quick, I know you can edit this out, but do that again and go to dyslexiacampus.com.
Oh, got it.
.org is ours as well, but that's
Okay.
the part that is the service that won't be ready.
And it's the there we go. Is that the one that we're talking about?
Yeah, that's dyslexiacampus.com, our online dyslexia newsletter, news magazine,
All
our
right.
online dyslexic news magazine.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are listening to this episode, there is going to be a lot of visual that's involved because I wanted to make sure that you could share and see some of the technology that's going on. So we have this girl over here, Embracing Dyslexia, the journey of an affiliate marketer. So somebody wrote that for you,
No,
or
so
how did you
these are
curate that
all
information?
right. So we're using AI a little bit we're basically just compiling all articles internationally that are dyslexic related, and so we are coming through hundreds of articles a day to find the best ones, right, and the most pertinent ones, and compiling them all here, and giving proper credit to authors and links to those original sources, but making it easy to find all things dyslexic in one location. And we spend particularly I spend a lot of time on celebrities. We
Okay.
are we are we're finding that it has in the past there's a lot of famous dyslexics, right, entrepreneurs, and they're generally the ones that are generally cited are white males. And so we're spending a good amount of energy in making sure that we're finding dyslexic uh, celebrities that are of all race and gender, and highlighting them, right? Selma Hayek was one I found recently. So, there are a lot of dyslexic
Selma Hayek right
celebrities.
here.
Yeah,
It was
the actress.
published. Yep, published here on July 13th inside the campus.
Yeah. And so, but we're making a dyslexic hall of fame so that, we can really compile all these people that have come across, and just so that a young person can see how this is not necessarily a, disability as it is sometimes referred to. It is something to, it is a superpower in a lot of ways. There's several articles about percentages of millionaires and the percentage of those millionaires who are dyslexic. It's like 30%, like there are a super drive and entrepreneurship with dyslexic persons. And neurodiversity as a whole, right? It's just we're trying to make sure that we don't use that disability word too much, and change that and shift that to showcase the superpower that being you is. Only you can be you, and so let's really embrace that and show these young learners that they can overcome. They just need a different set of instruction to get better.
Yes, absolutely. Most dyslexic, dysgraphic, and dyscalculic students are gifted with a disability.
Yes.
I
So that's
stopped.
part of what we're trying to showcase in the site by articles. And I think we have some major sections like celebrity, technology, business. Business tends to, there's a big push in marketing as a whole to target and reach neurodiverse uh, adults and children. So we focus on that, education, celebrities, and science and research.
Yeah, I'm pausing right here in the technology section of there, and like I'm looking at the articles in front of me that are up as the latest articles. One was published on June 8th. It's about AI. The one that was published on May 30th, it's about AI. And the one that was published May 23rd, Speak for Me, that's another AI. AI is going to really change the life of a dyslexic.
Yeah, and it will change everything. It will change the life of education, really. But as a lot of good things have happened in our for humanity as a whole, it started out as an attempt to help persons with a disability, right? Audiobooks, for example. My mom was in that field for 30 plus years, and so I've watched a little of that, and she compliments on that. But this is another one where AI didn't necessarily, go for that, but it is going to have a major impact very fast. And I hope that, educators and parents will embrace that, and
Hmm.
encourage their students and families to really learn how to prompt and really how to get GPT and AI to do what they are requesting.
Yes. And then the next section down here is about education. Some of the stuff that's coming up today is there's something going on in San Antonio, Texas about dyslexia. Incidentally, that's where I just came from. I just came from the Region 10, which is up in Dallas Fort Worth. They just had an institute to support dyslexia. It's happening all over the country. And do you know why it's happening all over the country, Russ?
Uh, I could give a couple of reasons, but I'd like to hear yours.
Okay. There is a federal law that is coming down that says that it's passed that says that all K to 12 teachers need some education in dyslexia. So they're really trying to like lay it out a little bit where they're really working on like learning support teachers and stuff. I know in my area, they are trying to educate all K-8 teachers on at least to have the introduction course. So regardless of whether you're learning support, regular ed, music teacher, art teacher, they want everybody to understand the foundation of literacy so that they can all be talking the same language as far as structured literacy goes.
That's that's spot on. That's amazing. I love to hear that. I didn't necessarily know that. I've heard some of that, I think. I spend a lot of time on the technology side, so I don't get into that type of the world of Washington D.C. in particular. I do see a lot of states, and that makes a lot of sense as to why. Um, for me, the people that I work with at the school, the administration, they've always taken the stance, and I agree that what works for those kids, let's say it's Orton Gillingham, or if it's Wilson or some other type of particular instruction method. Those are two of several but they all work for everyone, right? And so I think what I hear you saying is that the federal government is asking, it, education and as a whole to get better at being able to see and unofficially diagnosed, or is that what you're trying to say? Like not really do anything about it, because that's generally been a problem.
Yeah, they want all teachers to really just be able to understand neurodiversity a little bit. So understanding what the structured literacy program is so that you can go, oh, so even if you're a math teacher, you might get this requirement coming down the pike. And it's amazing because there's so much language that's associated with science and math and social studies, and not always necessarily do we think the foundation of reading to be associated with that. I'm kind of stuck here in the celebrity section, and Chris Kemp says that my biggest strength is my business and my dyslexia. Dean Grazasio, I can never pronounce his name. If anybody knows anything about business, he's a big business guy. He's one of Tony Robbins' guys. We have somebody from NCIS, Alex Tarrant, Sean Connery. Like, just looking at this, what is this? Nobel Prize winner, the inventor of the lithium ion battery.
Yeah, I mean, dyslexia. Dyslexia touches everything with the lithium ion battery, right? So, it's amazing. It really is amazing how many successful people, and have fought through, but have, transcended, their dyslexia to achieve, right? No matter what. And that was before what we have today, which is a lot more tools and a word to go with it. That's where we've been for the last, it seems like 10 years, is like, the federal government or state government won't use the word dyslexia. That, if you go to a parent or, you try to get an IEP in a public school, you find the difficulty there and you find resistance, which is why Providence Charter School came to be, right? From the founder, and a lot of other schools in different states and different cities. That, and in comparison with most of those, are private and expensive. So, that is it's a big change. We spent a lot of time, what am I trying to say? The last 10 years we've been, developing the idea of dyslexia, right? And it seems as in the last couple of years that it has really, neurodiversity as a whole, has made a big jump in acceptance, and a lot of more resources and research and famous people acknowledging their own disabilities, has come up. That's what I've seen. And so it's great. It's a great time to be involved in it because it's really changing fast, and especially with AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I noticed that like the top 3 medical articles that are on the site right now talk about rhythm, regular
Mm.
rhythm, fast and slow rhythms, and comparison of functional head impulse test with pediatric balance. But that kind of has to do with like the rhythm of walking. It's very interesting to see the connection with rhythm as an advancement to the linking to dyslexia, because rhythm really is the core foundation of how we process information. If we don't process in a rhythm, that's why music is so addicting, because it's in that rhythm state and it touches that subconscious environment and it brings it to the conscious. So I'm currently now down at the very bottom of the website, and it says Dyslexia Campus is an online news magazine collecting new and important articles, research, and news regarding dyslexia and neurodiversity. And so there's a whole lot of stuff here that you can refer to. And I'm going to page back up, probably too fast for those of you who are
Mm.
watching, but just look at all the content of information that is just here on the front page. And then we have all of this stuff here in the menu to help expand it. I'm going to click over here to parent. So what you've done is you've kind of, in the back end, you've set up what pages that might be helpful to those categories. Is that what I'm
Hmm.
hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a traditional newspaper type of thing. You have, your local and state section. You have your main section. You have your sports section. So we're trying to compartmentalize it into something that's helpful for educators, for parents, and for I would argue now that it's a little bit more tailored to parents and educators. We do want to kind of come up with a little more of a kids version that's a little less wordy. I mean, this is wordy. We are building the back end to accommodate text to speech for the whole site. So that will be coming soon. But we want to have a more of a kid-friendly version that focuses on the celebrities and some of the tech tools that they may be able to use themselves. That is a little less wordy. But this is a news site, so it is wordy.
Got it. And I'm on the resources page right now. And if you look right here under newsletter, it says subscribe to my newsletter so that you can get more information from Dyslexia Campus. Fabulous. But look, here's an article on ChatGPT from May 23rd. But look at how old that is already. I mean, when you think
Yeah,
about it, that is really old. Do you
yeah,
mind terribly if I go back to dyslexiacampus.org, because that had something very interesting I wanted to
yeah.
talk about. So I'm going to flip back
So
over
just like
there.
this site is one that's under construction that is going to be our service that is laying the apps and extensions specifically for a Chromebook and then also for an iPad that we have vetted as the best of the best, and we're going to attempt to collect them into an umbrella service that is easy to use, and we teach you how to use them properly and help and assist. So yeah.
Nice. I see that this site is using the dyslexia font. It has the disclaimer at the top. I like that for the reader. I am just going to put this out there just so that everybody knows my stance on the dyslexia font. It doesn't translate well to writing. So anytime that you're using a dyslexia font, make sure that you transpose it to another font for the student to copy from. So if they need to be copying, that you transpose it to another one. My favorite and this is something from the technology standpoint as you're developing this app, there's an app called Lexend. You must install it onto the computer. You can install it on Chromebooks, on Macs, on regular PCs, on iPads, on Android Fires, and everything. It is free to download, but everything needs it download at this point in time. Lexend is the closest to the way we write. So as we're sharing information, I'm just letting you be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have down here at the bottom, we have a store, we have founders, we have partners, we have contact, frequently asked questions, and then the privacy policy. And then they have the links to where they are on Instagram, Twitter, which is now an X, and YouTube. So I am going to page back up to the top here. Something else I saw was that you definitely are creating this and developing it to have a student portal, a district portal, and an individual portal, which is absolutely wonderful. I just commend you. This is amazing. I need to spend a lot of time on this website just to grasp all the information. Before I close this share, is there anything else that you think that we should highlight from this page?
Just that it's under construction and that it's changing drastically. That the service is, we ran into a logistical, as we all do. Everything is distilling it down into its finest form. But we ran into an obstacle logistically, so we turned our focus to get the magazine ready as a marketing tool for the service and go that way. So if you sign up for the newsletter and subscribe to the newsletter, you'll be the first to know for all that we have going. And would love to have everybody share and make people aware that there is a place to easily find information about dyslexia and neurodiversity.
Fabulous. Now, you have said that a little bit about the Providence school that you are part of. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe the history of the school or a little bit more about the school? What does it make Providence unique in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area?
Well, it's unique. As I said before, most schools, as I understand, and in my experience, are either private and expensive, or it's homeschool, right? The public schools and private schools that are not focused on that learning style, they're not common. So when Curtis Kosman is our founder, and when he started the school in 2015, I think it remains one of only 4 charter schools in the nation, or it was at that time. There were 3 in Louisiana, but the first one outside of Louisiana. So to be a charter school, to be not expensive, right? And we were teaching Orton Gillingham, we were teaching Wilson remediation techniques to 2nd through 8th grade. Those are the grades with which we go up to.
Why not first grade?
They have a reason for that, which I don't want to speculate, but I think it has to do with that's about the time that you generally find out.
Got it.
That's when my daughter found out, when we found out for her. But I don't know the answer for that specifically, but they have a reason. We're the only school with a Taekwondo, back to rhythm, right? A Taekwondo class for all students. Yeah. So, and it's amazing. We have a sensei, and he comes in, there's every day, all the classes, it's like recess. They go to Taekwondo. So there's rhythm and there's balance and there's tactile. So there's that. And we're 1-to-1. We were even 2-to-1 during COVID. We had one at school and we had one at home. We had a device. So we start children out on second and third grade are on iPads, getting used to technology a little bit. And then in fourth grade, we moved them to Chromebook, and it's off. And they have all the tools they need right there, logged in to do whatever it is they need to do. And yeah, and the teachers work hard. I commend all teachers listening to this. Thank you so much for caring about these kids, because it's a hard job. I'm not a teacher. I do not interact with children, but I watch my colleagues, and I am blown away with how patient and both patient and frustrating it can be to be a teacher nowadays. So a lot of commend everyone listening that is in the education.
So how many students are in your building?
We have about 350 in our first building, which is the main campus. And this year, 2023, 24, we'll open a second campus, which is about an hour outside of town, that is going to service that side, the kind of more western Pennsylvania down towards Ohio and West Virginia corner of Pennsylvania. And that is growing small. There's probably 30 to 35 children there. But if I remember correctly, we started in 2016 with 2 grades, with third and fourth grade. That was the first year. So we've expanded and gradually built it up over the years to second and through 8th grade. So, yeah, probably about 400 total.
Amazing. Wow. I've learned a lot about Dyslexia Campus. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I'm fascinated by all that you're up to, and your passion for dysgraphia and helping people understand. So I'd say to you as well, thank you for your passion and for sharing. It's helpful.
You. Thank you. Thank you so much. Remember, this podcast releases the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. If you want to look at the website, you can either go to cheri.com, page down the page a little ways, and you will see information about the podcast, or you can go right directly to the podcast page, and that is thewritingglitch.com. If you happen to go over to thewritingglitch.com, you are also going to see something called the Pocket Cast. I have released a second episode where I am taking what I used to do here at the end of the podcast, and I've shifted it over there. So interventions are going to be over there from now on. So if you really want to learn about those podcasts, make sure you subscribe to both podcasts. They are not going to be sharing the same thing. Here, we're going to share interviews. Over there, we're going to share interventions. So make sure you subscribe to both podcasts, The Writing Glitch and The Writing Glitch Pocket Cast. And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. And remember, you were put here for such a time as this. Post-production is with Sam C. Productions. He is a performing arts major in Florida, and he is doing an amazing job. If you really appreciate the way the podcast sounds, you need to let us know by writing a review, and let your podcast app know that we're doing a job and a service for you. With that, I want to say thank you again to Russ Loyd for being here and sharing the dyslexiacampus.com and dyslexiacampus.org with you today.
Thanks, Cheri.